Hi Matt Woodhead. Welcome to 10 by 6.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here.
And it's our pleasure. And now you're touring with a play it's called Who Cares? And it's about young carers looking after their family members and how they've got to devote their life and commit their lives to sometimes 24/7 looking after adult members of their family, and the impact that has in terms of, certainly in terms of mental health, but also in terms of the fact that it takes away their life from them, especially if they're young people and they're growing up. So, I mean, that's really the sort of the stimulus, I guess, of your play. So if you want to tell us all about it.
Yeah, I'd love to. Who Cares is a play that's come about as a result of, it's been 4 or 5 years in the making. I've been working with a group of young carers in Salford to tell their story about what it means to care for a loved one. I met them back in 2015, and the kind of premise was simple. I said, would you like us to make a verbatim play about your lives as young carers? And this was with the Lowry Theatre in partner with Gadam, who are the local young carers service. And these 4 incredible young people took up the challenge and said yes. And the play kind of looks at their everyday life of, you know, the drama of going to school, like the smell of the bus, like being late for class, but also kind of looking at the reality of what it means for them to be a young carer. So all of the words in the play are spoken by them. It's a verbatim documentary play, but the young people have also been involved in set design, casting, you name it, they've done it.
Yes.
And the play looks at identifying more hidden young carers, and we're really thrilled to be coming to Bridport.
Brilliant. I mean, it's a sense of empowerment, I guess, isn't it, for young people, because it's allowing them to do something that expressing something that young people actually have been doing for a long time. I taught health and social care back in the 1990s. And one of the articles I actually used to give to my level 3 students was one called Who Cares, actually, interestingly. And it was about the state of the child carers back in the 1990s. So this isn't a new problem, is it?
No, it's something that's been going on for generations and decades, but it's something that's more pertinent now more than ever. Like, the pandemic has meant that lots of hidden young carers haven't been identified and found because they've not been able to go to school, or they've not been at the GP surgery or the pharmacy where a GP's gone, oh my gosh, you're a young carer. And we found that in touring the play, like, so many young carers have seen the story of the real young people whose stories are in the play and gone, oh my gosh, you know, I look after my dad, or I look after my brother, like, this is my story. And we're really proud to be partnering with local schools and carer support in Dorset to work with local schools to give them free performances of the show, free post-show and pre-show workshops to support schools in identifying and signposting young carers so they can get the support that they deserve and need.
Fabulous. So it sounds like it's also operating at a level in which it's trying to extract the hidden carers that exist, to bring them forward, bring them out in the open, and as I say, signpost those places that they can start to get support, which they haven't got support up till now.
Absolutely, yeah, and we're really thrilled as well to be offering like free CPD training as part of the show as well. So our engagement officer Madiha Ansari has worked with us to co-create some training with young carers to kind of find individuals who work with young people, so again, teachers, pharmacists, doctors, nurses, and then invite them to come learn more about young carers, but also find what they can do in their local area to support young carers. So we're really thrilled to be offering that in Bridport as well, to hopefully work collaboratively with service providers, but also, more importantly, support them in activating local change in the local area.
Brilliant. And in terms of the nature of the content, is it sort of a series of monologues, soliloquies?
Yeah, well, people like, we try at Lung to make verbatim theatre really come to life. I think sometimes people go, oh my gosh, it's verbatim theatre, it's going to be a very dry night, it's going to be 3 people with turtlenecks and, you know, a pad of paper, and that's that. But I think working with the young people so collaboratively in the design of the play has meant that it's a really electric play that sizzles and comes to life. So the young people's songs like punctuate the soundscape throughout the show. Like, there's lots of movement in the piece, and yes, there's direct address and there's lots of audience, but it's fast paced, dynamic, and kind of like a gut punch, really.
Fantastic. Can you give us a little bit of a sense of some of the experiences that these young carers have had? please?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the young carers, the kind of pseudonyms that we use in the play are Nicole, Connor and Jade. Jade grew up always as a young carer for her brother, who has a hearing impairment. And she became a young carer for her dad when he was involved in a motorbike accident. Connor looks after his mum, who has mental health and addiction issues. And Nicole, the other character, starts to care for her mum when she was 4, when her mum had a stroke. So the play doesn't really pull any punches. And I think like the reason that the young people have been so willing, but also like energized to tell their stories, is because they feel like there's lots of other young people like them who haven't had the support that they've had through GAD in the local young carer service, and every young carer does have a legal right to be supported by their local young carer service. So we're really kind of proud that the play's identified 200 hidden young carers, and we're hoping while we're in Bridport we can find some more.
Yes, in terms of when a young person is able to sort of come out as it is as a hidden carer, how supportive and sympathetic are their schools? Because obviously the school has a legal obligation. So I mean, how is that working?
Yeah, it really varies. Like it's a bit of a I'm not a fan of this expression, but it's a bit of a postcode lottery,
Right, yeah.
dependent on what the quality of a young carer service is like, but also what provision a school can provide. So we found that we've been really lucky wherever we've gone, that we've been partnering and working with schools that are quite hot on young carers and understand what they are. But in other areas, sometimes adults, I've been really surprised in other contexts outside of this work how accepting adults are of young people's situation. And I think it's our responsibility through this production, but also more generally to kind of say to grown-ups, to teachers who are accepting young people's circumstances as a carer, to say, stop, no, there are provisions in place, like you need to get this young person an assessment of their needs, you need to contact your local young carer service. There are simple steps that you can do. There's a line in the play that says you can save a life by identifying a hidden young carer, and that's the message that we're trying to get through to teachers and members of staff.
Brilliant. In terms of COVID, obviously we had a lot of learning from home, but what that meant was for young people, they didn't have that social interaction. But I'm guessing for young carers, the social interaction bit was also obviously being affected by what they were doing as hidden carers. How was the learning from home? It must be sort of a dichotomy, really, isn't it? Because it must have made it slightly easier to learn because if you had the computer access, but at the same time, it really shut you off completely from that social interaction.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think something that we found with a lot of the young carers that we've worked with over the lockdown is that a number of them come from low-income families or single-parent families, which means that they don't have the devices in place. So when things originally moved online, we had a lot of young people who didn't have access to phones or laptops. We had one family, for example, there were 4 of them in the family, and they were all sharing mum's phone, and that was like for two young people to do all of their homework, plus mum to kind of do all of her stuff as well, and dad on top of that. So a real barrier has been digital poverty. So we've, in addition to the Who Cares play, we've launched the Who Cares campaign. So we raised £5,500 to distribute digital devices to young people in Salford, Ellesmere Port, Cheshire West, and Conwy, Denbighshire, and Wrexham up in North Wales. And again, it's hopefully trying to get those devices. But the pandemic has been really tough on young carers. According to the Carers Trust, like over 40% of young carers said their mental health had taken a blow during the pandemic. And I think that's also linked to the fact that young carers said that they were spending 10 hours plus more a week on their caring responsibilities as a result of the pandemic. So there's a lot of catch up to be done to support our young carers in this. I tentatively say a post-pandemic world, or what kind of new area we're currently in right now.
Yes. I mean, what you're doing seems to me as well. I mean, we know, for example, that there's about 800,000 hidden carers or young carers across the whole country. But what of course you're providing is a much more qualitative experience, enable those individuals, those young people, to actually tell an audience what it's actually like, as opposed to the numbers that tend to be churned out elsewhere.
Absolutely. And I think as well, we're really blessed to be able to say that, if a young carer is supported and does get early intervention, the outcomes can be amazing. Like one of the young carers whose stories are in the play, you know, they now work full time as the engagement coordinator at the Lowry Theatre. Another one has got a scholarship to study political science, and another one is enjoying Freshers Week right now as well. Like one of them kind of turned to us the other day and was like, you know, I can cook, I can clean, I can manage the bills, I can book appointments, I can multitask. Like how many grown-ups can say that, never mind teenagers? And I think it's important as well to kind of recognise that the odds are against young carers if they are unsupported, but if we do intervene early, find them and identify, support, refer, like their outcomes can be incredible.
Fabulous. So I've got a list of points. I don't want to miss out anything. No, I think I've covered everything there. I mean, it's fabulous what you're doing, and I think, I mean, I guess Bridport obviously being in the west of the county. Are there any plans maybe to go towards Bournemouth and Poole, which is obviously a much larger conurbation?
Yeah, we'd love to. We're always looking to make new partners and reach out. So if anyone in Poole or Bournemouth or anywhere else is kind of listening and would like to get involved, then please do get in touch. I'm Matt at Lung Theatre, and you know, I'd love to hear from you.
Brilliant, fantastic. Well, it's been amazing talking to you, Matt, and good luck with everything. And
thank you so much.
And it's fabulous what these young people were doing, and being able to express themselves and to say get this information across that so many people were unaware of.
That's great. It's been a real pleasure, and thank you so much for the support, and really love the show. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you. Our pleasure.